Hello out there, all you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game I Dig. I thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear, listening into another Gamer's Thoughts discussion. And this is going to be talking about if fighting games should be accessible to everyone. Now, there are two answers to this question, and I have seen two forms of discussion where people think one-sidedly on this whole thing. So I'm going to give my overall perspective and thoughts on it because I think people are bringing it down to too many black and white terms where it's not a black and white discussion. Just like when I did the discussion earlier this year about accessibility in video games and should every video game be accessible to everyone, or should every game have an easy mode? Because that was actually the discussion that was being had. Should every game have an easy mode? And my answer was that it should be up to the developer. Simple as that. It should be up to the developer. And I probably will be largely ringing true to that statement here. But there's also another twist. There is the consideration of tournaments and tournament play when it comes down to fighting games that may not be on everyone's radar or thought process. So I have a lot to unpack and probably try to do it very quickly. But firstly, if you are playing a fighting game to try to get good at it, as good as you can get at it, then there is no necessity for it to be simplified for you as a player. Because you want to get into the intricacies of the game and into the difficulties of performing the inputs and seeing the outcome and how things clash. You want to get into that. You want to dive into that system and become familiar with it, become part of it. So for the tournament player or the person that has tournament play in mind, fighting games are good as they are in their basic form. They don't need anything else added to the game. So for people that are not interested in playing for tournaments and stuff, people that are not interested in trying to get to a professional level, they just want to play the game and have fun at it, then I don't see a problem with there being accessibility options for people that may have disabilities. But I don't think that those options are needed for people who are able to learn how the fighting system of a fighting game works, but are unwilling. And that is a big distinction. Problem is, there's no catch-all for that. You can't make a video game recognize if somebody's capable of learning the system of the game or not. That's literally just impossible. But I know I've seen people arguing, well, we need it for accessibility for people that are disabled. Granted, by numbers, there are a lot of disabled people for various reasons. And every disability is not the same. But the number of disabled people by percentage is actually quite low in comparison to the population. Now, I do know some places don't report that they have disabled people. That's a whole other discussion. But by and large, there are a lot less disabled people on the planet. And many of them, I doubt, are the ones that are making these complaints. Now, this is different from the difficulty discussion. Because difficulties in games, again, that's up to the developer. And if it's there, you use it if you need to. If it's not, and you really want to play the game, you have to learn how to play the game. Simple as that. But when it comes down to fighting games, unless you are specifically able to show that you are a disabled player and you want to get into tournaments, you're going to have to learn how to play the game regularly. Because it's unfair to other people that would like to play in tournaments because you wish to use the simplified controls, even though you can learn the controls that are not simplified. But there's also the fact that using simplified controls in fighting games actually limits you. It takes away many things that you can do to make the game easier for you to play. And that's something to be considered, but it does also give you advantages to be able to do things a lot quicker than most other people would be able to if you are able-bodied. More specifically, if you have no problems using both of your hands. And then there's somebody that's going to be, but wait, Smash has simplified controls, and Smash has simplified controls. That's about the only thing that's simple about Smash. If you have looked at any of the breakdowns of how this game is played, any of Sakurai's videos, there is a lot more complicated work going on behind the scenes outside of the controls. Yes, anyone can pick up the controls in Smash and play at pretty much any point. But there's a lot of nuance to Smash. Like where you are placed when you perform the action, how close you are or how far you are from your opponent. Whether or not they are blocking, what it could do to them. Whether or not they jump, if they're able to avoid it, if it's a counterable move. There's a lot of nuance to how Smash works. And all of the extra work goes into the finer details. So while Sakurai made a game, Sakurai and the team that he had made a game that has super simplistic controls, the game itself is anything but simplistic. It takes hours to master just one character in Smash. And when I say master, I mean master. Like you play with this character enough to innately know how everything they do works and how to use it. That's mastering a character. You are not going to pick up Smash and play with Byleth the same way that you would play with Link. You're not going to pick up Smash and play with Mario the same way you're going to play with Luigi, even though they are very similar. You're not going to pick up Smash Ultimate and play with Terry in the exact same way that you're going to play with Kazuya. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to pick up Smash and play with the Villager the same way that you're going to play with Steve from Minecraft. It just does not work that way. Yes, even though all of the inputs are basically the same and are super simplified, there's a lot of differences and nuance between these characters and how they are used. So using Smash is a horrible example. And that's because people like to just try to throw a blanket statement without understanding what they're saying. So, simplified controls can be great, but it depends on the game. If the whole fighting system of the game is designed around simplified controls, then there's no argument here. But if it's not, then you cannot expect everyone to want to have simplified controls on every game. Because, again, fighting games are mostly based upon skill. And if you can't keep up with the skill level, that's not an issue with the game. There are plenty of fighting games that have simplified fighting systems that are easy to pick up and learn. Just not all of them are popular. But someone could make them popular if they spent time playing these games and getting involved in the fighting systems of them and learning them and then showing them off. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to pick the most popular thing and go with that and then get spotlight in that most popular thing instead of taking something that is not very popular and bringing it to the light and trying to show it off to people to show how great it is that you can learn and play. And say, hey, this is a technical but simplified game for anyone to be able to pick up, learn how to play. But it gets deep technically, just like Smash. Again, the games exist. It's that people aren't willing to go ahead and pick them up because they aren't already majorly established. And I see that tend to be the big issue. It's not always about whether or not the game is simplified or easy. It's usually if this game is established, I want this game to tailor itself to me. Now, I would say that is a somewhat reasonable request sometimes, not all the time. Because again, it depends on the game, the styling of the game, and what you're trying to achieve with it. I think the biggest problem is when we would consider accessibility, there are not that many different controllers that are accessible for people who are handicapped, that are disabled. I think that is the ultimate problem when it comes down to this. If you're strictly speaking from a standpoint of accessibility, then we need more controllers that are developed for people with disabilities and controllers for different types of disabilities to allow different types of people who are disabled to be able to play and enjoy video games. But I do not like the disingenuous nature of people saying, well, this has to be done for accessibility when you just want the game to be easier for yourself when you are fully capable of learning how the game works. And if you feel like you do not have the time to do it, then don't complain about it. But that's not on a developer. That's on you. That's on you as a player. And again, this isn't the easy mode thing. Like, again, a lot of people that argue for that aren't thinking accessibility. They're just thinking about themselves. But they use accessibility as a blanket term. And that's a problem to me. I genuinely despise that. That is a huge problem to me. Because I don't like when people use other people as a means to prop up themselves. It's annoying. It's annoying. It's annoying. I mean, yeah, there are definitely some special cases to this, maybe, but there's not a lot. I would just prefer that if people really want to get into these games, that they actually learn them. Or go ahead and pick up one of the tons of them that do exactly what people are asking for, that are just not all that well known, and try to prop those up if you really want to make them special or have a game that be in the spotlight that you would like to play. But on both sides of this argument, everybody paints it as cut and dry. Simplified controls will ruin fighting games. Not necessarily, because again, there are plenty of fighting games with simplified controls that are really good games. And then the crowd of, every fighting game needs simplified controls for accessibility. And again, no. No, not every fighting game needs to be that way. Some are technical on purpose, so that you can get into the game, learn all the technicalities, and see what you can do with it from there. Again, it's a skill test. But hey, look up the fighting games that have simplified controls. Look them up. Look them up, find them, go play them. Build up those developers and those publishing teams that are very unknown in the fighting game scene. Make them bigger so that they could probably have a bigger impact on the scene as a whole. Instead of trying to change the stuff that's already there that doesn't necessarily need to be changed. Or at least not for, good reasons. Manipulative reasons, yes, but not good reasons. in the overall, just look for games that fit what you need, because there are tons of video games out there in every genre, especially in the fighting game scene. Find the games that match what you need, play those. But don't try to turn everything into, this has to be specifically done for me. Or this has to be specifically done because I say so for these people that I don't even represent. Okay. I think that's done. If you have anything to say, or you have any agreements or disagreements, please allow me to know. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for listening in. Keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me. And until the next time, enjoy your games and peace out, everybody.